So I saw a snood, and my daughter wanted one for her dog. So I'm like, oh my goodness, that is not hard to make, and you could probably make one for less than $5. So you just need fleece material. What we did for the measurements is we decided from the brow bone all the way to the neckline, and then I added another couple of inches. So the dog was like 12, so I'm gonna add another. I'll lose an inch or about a half an inch in my seam allowance, but you want it longer than you want it short. So this is gonna be the length, and then it will wrap around like this, and we'll put elastic on this side to hold it against the neck, and then we'll put a drawstring on this side to cinch it up around their brow to keep it over their ears. So let's see how we do this. I want this double-sided. I want it double thickness, and when I cut it out, I actually cut out a rectangle like this. So since I want it from the brow to the neck to be 14, then I made it 28. And then the circumference, we decided, we measured his neck, which was, we made a little larger. We made it 20 just to give it a little bit of room. He's still a puppy, he's still growing. So we just double it up like that on the fold. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just going to pin the right sides together. Again, if you're using fleece, both sides are the same. So just, but this will be the inside of the piece. Okay? We want to hide our seams. I always like to pin just to keep everything straight. And then I'm just doing a single stitch. If you don't have a machine, you literally can just hand stitch this too. So don't feel like you need a machine to make one of these. So essentially, you've just created a tube. So we're going to turn the tube inside out, or well, right side out, like this. All right, so here's our stitch. And so it's gonna seem backwards to you, but everything in sewing tends to be backwards. So just trust me, this is gonna be the length across the neck, and then this will be the circumference. So the next thing we're gonna do is sew these together. But to do that, we're gonna fold our tube back on itself. Just like this. I'm gonna start at that seam. Okay. And then I'm just gonna pin it around. So you're gonna go, oh, that looks short. But when you turn it inside out, this actually will be the circumference. So just trust me, you're gonna think you did it backwards, but you didn't. I wanna leave about a 2-inch gap right here, just because I wanna have a way to turn it inside out. And I always over sew because I get excited. So I put a color pin to remind me to stop. So I'm gonna start here on my stitch all the way around, and then stop right here. So let's get this pinned up. We're gonna go all the way around. Now we're coming up on our color pins, so we want to make sure to stop. And if you're doing this on the machine, I like the back stitch, give it just a little bit more support. There we go. All right, so now it's time to turn it right side out. So here's my hole. There we go. We're just gonna push it through itself. and there it is. So this is the length, and we decided we wanted a circumference. We want it tight enough to keep his ears, but we don't want it to look like a shower cap. So here's where we turned it inside out. And it's a little bit longer than I need, but it makes a perfect place to put that drawstring. So I'm gonna hand stitch this closed up and leave myself maybe a ½ inch gap to be able to thread my elastic in there. Okay, so this is the cording, and I just want to make sure that there's enough room for that cording to go through. So whenever I sew, I'm going to, I have my marks on here. So this is 5/8. I'm going to do 5/8 seam allowance, and I'm just going to stitch right along the top. Okay, I have it all pinned up. Let's just sew around, and there's my opening for my cording. Okay, so now we need to get this cording inside this little pocket that we made. There is a trick. They do sell the things for this, but I always just use a safety pin. Now you just put the safety pin on the cording, and then this gives you something to hold inside of it. So you're just gonna stick your safety pin inside of there, and then just work your cording. Come on in, here you go. All the way around. Just like a hoodie, if you had one. And there we go. Found that if the bottom is not cinched up, it will just literally come right off the top of their head when they bend their head down, or they can get it off. So we're gonna put elastic along the bottom. So there's not a place that we left open for that. So I'm gonna use my seam ripper and seam rip a little opening just like I did here. And on this end, I'm gonna put elastic because it's just to hold it kind of about the same. You're gonna do your elastic about the same as you would do the collar for the dog. So our dog doesn't have a 20-inch circumference around the neck. It's more like 16. So what we'll do is we'll just make our elastic. So this is about a 16-inch circumference to kind of keep it snug on their head once this is done up. All right, so we're just gonna pin around just like we did on the other. Just make sure, because this is actually the fold of the material, so there's not a seam here to let you know. So here is where I want to sew for my elastic, and again I want to make sure that I leave enough room for that elastic inside of there, so that'll be about my seam allowance here. And then this is where I want to use my seam ripper to go back in and open up a spot for me to put that elastic in, just like we did the cording. So let's go for it and let's see how this works. Okay, so I marked my dog's circumference before I started on the elastic, so I'd know where that I wanted to sew them together. You can actually just put it on your dog if you have your dog here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, can you see how I just marked each end, and I knew that I'm just going to sew those together. Again, you can hand stitch those. I'm going to use the machine, use a zigzag stitch. What that looks like. And now I'll just trim off the excess. through. Make sure that my elastic goes back in all the way. And then I'll just use my needle and thread to close up that. Okay, so what we have is we have the elastic that goes around the neck. We have the drawstring that goes up over his head, holds his ears in, and it's custom size, custom made, just for our dog.